I am joined live in the studio by Margaret and Cathal, two members of PLAN, the Pro-Life Action Out, to talk to us about the 8th Amendment here today. How are you doing today, Cathal and Margaret?
Hi Tommy, hi Emma.
And I'm also joined in studio by Emma, one of our volunteers as well, who is going to be helping me conduct this interview today. So Emma, you can head on in there.
Hi guys, how are you today?
Hi Emma.
So just to get the ball rolling, how did this campaign start? How long are you involved in it? What's it all about?
Well, we're canvassing now since actually almost a year, since last February. We're going door to door. But PLAN has been in existence for several years. We're a kind of a loosely based organisation that responds to the pro-life situation at the particular time. So our canvass goes, well, we were going one night a week since last February. Now we're upping that, obviously. So we have details there on the contact number for anybody who wants to go on the canvass or anything like that.
And would there be many people in the canvass? Have you
yes, we can range from, on any particular night, we can range from about, I think the last night we were out with about 30 people. Sometimes we can have about 8 people, but we have a consistent core of people who are always there, and we have never, as far as I can remember, we have never had to call off a night of our canvass.
Leo Varadkar revealed the referendum for abortion will be held in May. How do you think this will go ahead? How do you think things will plan out?
Well, actually, Emma, I was really interested to hear Leo Varadkar, because, you know, he used the words safe, legal and rare regarding the abortion in Ireland. Now, the thing about it is that safe for whom is what I would say. Rare, absolutely and positively not. In every country in Europe that abortion was introduced on very narrow circumstances. And remember that what he is proposing is not narrow. 12 weeks for absolutely no reason whatsoever is not narrow. It's even more liberal than in England. At least in the UK, you have to actually, abortion is available on the grounds of mental and physical health. But in Ireland, he is proposing that we will have abortion just for absolutely no reason other than, you know, I don't mean inconvenient, but there will not be any restrictions on it. So every country that it was brought into around Europe, on those grounds, on limited grounds, it became abortion on demand. In England, there are 1 in 5 pregnancies are terminated. In France, 1 in 5. In Sweden, 1 in 4. In Denmark, 1 in 5. And it definitely does open the floodgates to abortion. And I think there is a better way.
So, just on the topic of that, with Leo Varadkar, Fianna Fáil's Michael McGrath described the removal of the 8th Amendment as a step too far. So obviously you agree that you don't want it to go ahead. Some of the government are for it and the other side obviously are not.
Yeah, you see, if you look at the wording of the 8th Amendment, there has been an awful lot of talk in recent years about equality in our country. But we actually have the perfect piece of equality in the 8th Amendment. It gives the equal right to life, the equality of life to both the mother and the baby that's in the womb. And I'm here really as a feminist, really, because I feel that around the world, the bigger majority of babies that are aborted around the world are actually female babies. Now, nobody is speaking up for them. Now, I have the utmost compassion for people who are pregnant in a time of crisis when it doesn't suit them. I really resent some of the pro-life people being put forward as judgmental. And, you know, the people that I know that are pro-life are the very, very opposite of judgmental. So they would have my utmost sympathy. But, we have equality legislation. It's a beautiful piece of legislation. When you read it, it gives the equal rights to life of the mother and the baby. Now, at a major public hearing in the Dáil in 2013, top Irish obstetricians testified that not one woman had died in Ireland because of our ban on abortion, and that usually they were able to save the life of both mother and baby. They also pointed out that where the baby did lose his or her life, it was not the intention in the procedure, and that this is not an abortion. And under the terms of the 8th Amendment, not alone are doctors allowed to intervene and induce a baby if a mother's health is at risk, they're legally obliged to do so. They're actually legally obliged, and at that major public hearing in the Dáil in 2013, top Irish obstetricians also testified that pregnant women received all life-saving treatment they needed in Irish hospitals, and our ban on abortion did not prevent that.
And as everyone knows, there is a rally that is coming up to save the 8th in Dublin. It's in March. Have you guys got any plans? Like, is there anything specific that the Limerick campaign is heading for, or?
Well, we'll probably organise a few buses up to it. We organised buses the last week, 2 buses up to the last Rally for Life in July, and I would imagine we'll do that again. We haven't organised it yet, buses, or put out dates for it, but it's on the 10th of March. It's only the 10th of March.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Apologies for that. Where can more people find out about what your plan of action campaign does? Where can we get information if people want to go to this rally, they want to take the bus, they want to be part of the pro-life team?
Well, if you want to take part in the life canvas, we have 2 nights, Wednesday and Thursday night. We meet and we head out usually around 6:50. It's about 2 hours. So if you want to contact Philip on 086 154 2832, that's 086 154 2832. He'll give you the details of where we'll be at any particular night.
Yeah, very good. I just got a question I wanted to throw out there to both of you. Like, a majority of the government parties have come forward to promote the repeal of the 8. And as students, why do you think we should go against what our government is actually advising us to do?
Well, just to answer that and come back to the constitutional amendment. The purpose of the Constitution is to limit the power of government. So clearly the government want the power to legislate for abortion. And it's interesting when you look at the pro-choice literature, very few of them actually, none of them that I've seen so far, actually give you the text of the 8th Amendment. They talk a lot about the 8th Amendment, but they don't actually give the text. I think it's actually worth reading. Can I state it, if you don't mind?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. The state acknowledges the right to life of the unborn, and with due regard to the equal right to life of the mother, guarantees in its laws to respect, and as far as is practicable by its laws, to defend and vindicate that right. Now, as far as is practical is key. So if the mother's life is at risk, they will do everything they can to save the mother's life. And if that means she loses the baby, then she loses the baby. That's the difference between that and an abortion on demand is that an abortion is a direct assault on the baby. The purpose of an abortion is to end the life of the baby. Not to save the life of the mother, but to end the life of the baby. And our laws, we have abortion on the ground of suicidal ideation, for example. And you have the most common one that they often refer to as an abortion, but it's an ectopic pregnancy, for example, where both the mother and child would die unless the embryo is removed. So, you know, our laws are this referendum isn't so much, I think, about choice, but it's how we as a society value human life. And at the moment, in our constitution, it's enshrined there that we value human life, and that's why it was put in there. It reflected the will of society at the time. So now we're going to have that discussion as to how much we value human life.
Yeah, and I would just add to that back in 1967, when abortion was introduced in the UK, there was a much poorer understanding about the baby in the womb. And it was at the time, it was of its time, because people would debate whether when did life begin, but we're gone way beyond that now. We've all seen the pictures of babies in the womb, our own children or your relatives' children, and I mean, science and medical facts show that life is there from conception. All your DNA is in place, the colour of your hair, possibly what height you're going to be, everything is there at conception. So that argument is gone. That was used back in 1967 when abortion was introduced on limited case in the UK. But now we know that life begins at conception. Even, scientists agree, medical people agree, so we're gone beyond that. There's life there from the word go.
I just want to add to that as well. I think it's interesting that when you look at even the campaign to introduce abortion in America, one of the biggest campaigners over there was Dr. Bernard Nathanson, and he performed, I think, in total, when they had it legalised, something like 17,000 abortions, including 2 of his own children. And in 75, following the advent of ultrasound, he used ultrasound to perform an abortion. He saw the child trying to get away from his instruments, and just changed his mind. Science actually changed his mind, and he converted to pro-life and campaigned until his death to try and undo the laws he had campaigned to introduce. And similarly, we have more recently an abortionist who came over to Ireland to give testimony to the Citizens' Assembly, Dr. Anthony Levatino, who had performed over 1,200 abortions. I'd urge everyone actually to find him on YouTube and look at, he gives a very detailed it's an animation now, so it's not graphic, of what the abortion procedures involve. So if you go onto YouTube and search for Dr. Anthony Levatino abortion procedures, he talks you through the different types.
And there's a kind of case where a lot of people would think that we should bring it into Ireland to have abortions in Ireland because a lot of women are going abroad. Do you think that that should really come into play, that instead of like a woman, if she is making this like very hard decision to make in her life, that she should be able to do that? Yeah, you can.
Just from a woman's perspective, from me to you, Margaret, in the case of rape or incest, and a woman is pregnant or she's young, what would your reaction to that? I mean, obviously it's going to be very traumatic for the woman. So
absolutely,
just from a female perspective, because I know Tommy and Cathal, both from a female viewpoint. Yeah,
well, actually, there's a few answers to that, but I'd like to start, Emma, by saying that it's a horrendous and heart-wrenching and unimaginable crime, rape, and it's something that sometimes goes unpunished. But, we don't suggest ending the life of another human being to rectify any other crime. I mean, if we're truly concerned about protecting women, we should seek stronger sentences for rapists and real justice for those who are victims of rape. Only 1/3 of rape cases are brought to court. And it's a second violation of a woman. If a woman gets pregnant as a result of rape, it's a horrific situation to be in. But the danger is that there is severe pressure then put on a woman. It's the pressure that's put on a woman to have an abortion as a result of rape. And 74% of women in Ireland who become pregnant after rape do not have an abortion. And it's still the life of a child. Why should the baby get the death sentence and the perpetrator of this horrific crime in 2/3 of cases go unpunished?
Exactly. But what I was kind of getting back to saying there about people going abroad for London, I know we don't have it in legislation here that you can get an abortion here, but women are still doing it. So would you not think it would be more justifiable for them to be able to actually do it in Ireland? And I know, your groups like PLAN. If this did go through, I can't imagine that you'd advocating for maybe a more stronger education and make sure if it does get put through that there'll be education put in for women, that if they do have to get an abortion, that they really do actually think about it. Because as an Irish person, I do think that we have a different kind of way of thinking about things.
Well, I think there are laws. Sorry, Cathal. I think there are laws in lots of countries that aren't in other countries. Every single country have their own laws, and just because something is legal in one country doesn't necessarily make it legal in another. I mean, if we bring in abortion into Ireland, we will be like the UK. We will probably even have a higher rate of abortion in Ireland, and 1 in 5 babies to be aborted on demand. And there are statistics there for second abortions and third abortions. And really, that's what it's all about. I mean, why do we need a law like that in our country?
Even the way you said there, like, not to attack you or anything, but you said if we could probably, the rates could probably go up. Like, it's not an actual given. So even if they...
But it's a given in every single country where abortion was brought in on narrow grounds. And remember, Tommy, we're not talking about narrow grounds here. We're talking abortion on demand for 12 weeks. That's not narrow grounds. And it's a total given that it will open. Anyway, you can't have a little bit of abortion.
Yes, exactly.
Well, it devalues human life. So once you have that in the mainstream, that you've devalued human life, and you're saying that, well, in our laws, this life has no value, and you can take it. And that's encouraged. People are encouraged to think that way. So it's a given that when you're encouraged to think that way, it will go up.
But you could say the same thing that some women, if they are having a child that they don't exactly want, then you're bringing a child into the world that isn't exactly wanted. And
Tommy, can I just answer that?
You can, yeah.
In 2015, could you even estimate how many babies were put up for abortion or up for adoption in Ireland?
I couldn't, not off the top of
7.
my head, no. 7.
So every baby is wanted. There's queues and queues and queues of people looking. And I am not for 1 second making light of what a crisis pregnancy is like.
Yeah.
You know, women that are pregnant when it doesn't suit them is actually one of the most difficult things to deal with. But in the end of the day, somebody has to talk for the baby that's in the womb. And if 7 babies were put up for adoption in 2015 in Ireland, when there's queues and queues and queues of people looking for babies, every baby is wanted by somebody.
Yeah. Well, what I would pose to you next is that do you ever think that there could ever be a compromise between two parties, pro-choice and pro-life? That would you ever think there's certain areas or even certain examples that resulting in abortion would be okay or justifiable? Just yourself.
Well, the only, we were talking there about the 8th Amendment, and under the terms of the 8th Amendment, if a woman goes into hospital with and her life is in serious danger, it doesn't matter what stage that fetus, embryo or baby or whatever name you want to give it is at, the doctors are obliged to induce that baby, bring it on, even if it has no chance of surviving. And that is the law in our country under the 8th Amendment, and I can only speak for myself, but that is the only way, or as Cathal said, in an ectopic pregnancy, that is the only, the mother's life would be in danger then too. Yeah. That is the only way, and that is why our 8th Amendment is such a perfect piece of legislation. I mean, it is perfect. It's equal. Nobody is getting their life above the others. And surely, in this day and age, with all the talks of human rights, civil rights and everything, surely that has to be looked at in the light in which it is. This baby has no one to speak for it. Even a person who has a stroke is lying in bed and they can't talk for themselves either. But their very presence is speaking for themselves.
Yeah.
This baby, I don't mind if you call it a fetus, because that just means little one anyway, but it has no voice, and really that's what's motivating me here.
Exactly. And just to kind of step away out of it, do you think that there's a pressure on our government, even by outside sources such as the EU, to kind of modernise our policies in certain areas like this?
I wouldn't consider them modernising our policy. I consider it very regressive.
Well, modernising insofar as getting with other countries.
Yeah, getting in line. I absolutely do. I think it's coming. This is coming from the EU. It's interesting to see Micheál Martin doing a complete 180 on the subject, and more recently, even Simon Coveney came out and indicated he would be campaigning for repeal. And I think it is coming from the EU, but I can't prove that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see how the positions have changed. 1 minute, a couple of years ago, they were all pro-life, and all of a sudden now they're not. It's very strange.
Obviously, your campaign has had many ups and downs, as has the pro-choice campaign. One question I'd love to ask you is, did you have any hardships trying to separate yourselves from more religious views? Because one of the main campaigns from other groups has been separate church from state. Do you think that's a bit of an unfair?
It is, of course, because as it happens, I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in the existence of God, but that doesn't stop me from being pro-life, because, like I explained earlier, this isn't about the choice, this is about how we value human life as a society. So, they'd love it to be about religion, because then it's about belief, but in reality I see the pro-choice have a lot of belief. They think, they try to dehumanise the unborn child as a clump of cells, or I've even heard ridiculous things like the fetus isn't alive, you know. It's a human being, and we should value human life in this country.
And if the 8th Amendment is passed, do you fear there will be a almost chain reaction in like other radical changes to governmental policies?
Well, I think that has been shown in the past. Once you bring in, we had Micheál Martin's vote, or not Micheál Martin, Enda Kenny's bill, the so-called Protection of Life in Pregnancy bill. He said at the time that this would not open floodgates to anybody. Here we are with the floodgates wide open, waiting for the next one. So yeah, usually these things lead from one thing to another. It is obviously a more liberal way of looking at things. So yeah, I think the debate then will be up probably for euthanasia and things like that. But I don't know enough about that. I'm just here to talk about the abortion issue at the moment.
I think one thing's for certain, we will see abortion clinics open up in this country. I mean, that's a given, because when you talk about up to 12 weeks, and it could go more than that, because once we get rid of the amendment of the Constitution, the government can legislate for whatever way they want. So the legislation is subject to change.
Well, actually, Cathal, on that, I mean, if you listen to Leo Varadkar last night, he said 12 weeks, right? However, if there's a problem with the baby, that the baby is sick, or they use fetal abnormalities, I would much prefer to say a baby with life-limiting conditions, he then has put no time limit on it. So we're discriminating on the basis of a sick baby. He has put no time limit on it. The other one that he said was the life-limiting conditions, and he has put no limit on that. So we actually don't know really what he has in his head. But from the way he was speaking, and in other countries, in the UK, it's up to 12 weeks. But after that, if there's even the slightest thing wrong with the baby, and it can be very minor, that baby can be aborted up to birth. So one day it's in the womb. It could be nearly 9 months. It could be kicking away in the womb. And just because it's in the womb, it's discriminated against because of where it is. The next day it's born, you can't touch it. It has all the protection of the law. So that is the indication that Leo Varadkar gave last night.
And do you think there is a fear that if it does get passed, that these extents will actually come into place?
I think it's an absolute positive.
Okay, so looking on towards the future, if you're campaigning away but the bill actually does get passed and the 8th Amendment is repealed, what is the next step for your group, your pro-life group?
Well, we'll continue to campaign against abortion, and we've been holding monthly stalls in the city centre, and we'll be moving them around to county towns as the campaign goes on as well, showing people what it is. We have models, like we have, for example, this little model here. If you want to have a look, this is a fetus at 11 weeks, 11 to 12 weeks actual size.
Yeah,
it's very small. It is.
Quite small, yes.
And if you don't mind,
but perfectly formed.
Perfectly formed, yeah. And we have a model showing a baby up to 20 weeks. So we're trying to explain to people that this is a human being we're talking about. It's not just a clump of cells, or this is not like a fingernail. This is actually an individual, unique human being with its own DNA. So we'll be doing education and encouraging people, especially women that might be thinking about travelling for an abortion or having one here, to think again. There's better solutions.
And in between then, are you going to be holding those shops to get people, to educate people about before they make the important choice?
Oh, absolutely. That we'll be having them in the city centre, and we'll be having them around in the different county towns, as well as going door to door with the live canvas twice a week.
And will there be any debates between the pro-life movements and the pro-choice movements?
I don't know. I think one of their slogans is repeal the 8, no debate. They don't think it's a matter for debate, and I've often had it said, because I'm a man, even though I spent the first 9 months of my life in the womb, because I'm a man I should have no say.
A lot of people, actually people I've spoken to, a lot of people have said that men should not be allowed to vote in this referendum because it's the woman's body and it's her. So, to add to that, just from what people have to think themselves.
People are entitled to that opinion, but you can't amend the Constitution with an opinion. The Constitution gives men and women above the age of 18 the right to vote, so that's not really
exactly.
You know.
Okay, thank you very much for coming on. And actually, I would love to try and get some pro-choice people in here at some stage during the year and for a proper debate.
I'd be more
I think
happy
that if there is going to be an what's the word? A referendum. That's what was on tip of my tongue. There really should be debates about it because it is a very important thing. There was debates way back when during the marriage equality referendum, when some people might have viewed there shouldn't have been. But I think everything should be discussed, especially.
Absolutely, and we're open to a fair and well-run debate. Absolutely, we are. We'd welcome it. Could I have time to just mention one other thing? I'll tell you, if anybody is out there that is in the position of carrying a baby that has been diagnosed with life-limiting conditions, there is a website called everylifecounts.ie that they can refer to. If there is anybody out there that is suffering after an abortion, you can go on to the website Rachel's Vineyard or Silent No More. And if there is any woman out there pregnant that is doesn't feel that she can continue with this pregnancy, take a moment, draw your breath. It's not that bad. It's a baby that you will have. There's an organisation, CURA and Ask Magella, either of the two of them that you can look up and they will help you.
And Margaret,
thank you very much.
Just to add to that, there's another organisation that will help people financially if they're pregnant and are in desperate. Gianna Care.
Yeah.
If they want to look that up, Gianna Care.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tommy. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you.
Thanks.